Welcome to NewTV's Newton Nonprofit Organization Spotlight. We're joined today by Tom Alessi and Craig Richardson from the ARIES Foundation for Financial Education Incorporated. ARIES Foundation is a nonprofit located in Newton, dedicated to the mission of trying to help everyone have a better relationship with their money. So Tom and Craig, thanks for joining us today. Would you please give us a bit more of an introduction into the ARIES Foundation?
Absolutely, and a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having us, Brian. So the ARIES Foundation, really at its core, as we said, and you gave in the intro there, is trying to help everyone have a better relationship with their money. And the extent of that is that whether you realize it or not, all of us have a relationship with our money. And just like any other personal relationship, there are emotional triggers and behaviors that cause us to act sometimes irrationally when dealing with our money. And all Craig and I try to do is try to help people understand that and get a better sense of what they're dealing with and why they're making some of those choices. Craig, you following up on that?
Yeah, I think a lot of what we started doing to begin with is doing a lot of workshops for nonprofits. And what we would find is it was a very underserviced community as far as financial education went. I think just in general, most people don't have a good basis for financial education. They have, rumors from their friends at the water hole. They have, their parents who may have told them a few things, or they watched, things they did right or things they did wrong. But even, I went to college and got a degree in finance and accounting, and there was almost no courses on personal finance. How to do a resume, but not how to negotiate for, the best salary, not how to worry about benefits, not how to plan for savings. So I think this is general information that we just figure that all people need. And so for us, it's just a service to give that information back.
Perfect. Yeah, no, I mean, that's definitely very useful information that I think everyone can really benefit from, myself included. So like you said, I usually just go to my parents for my financial advice. So with the pandemic going on for the last year or so, year and a half, what have your goals really been? How have you sort of had to pivot, how you go about these goals?
Yeah, so it was a big time pivot for us because, as Craig mentioned, those financial wellness workshops that we were doing were all in person. Because for us, we're in Patriots jerseys. For those who may not be able to decipher that, we're in the Boston area, so we're Patriots fans. But for us, the real philosophy is that financial wellness is a contact sport. And we mean that literally. Our guideline to that is that it's guidance plus engagement will equal participation. And for us, all we were doing were in-person, workshops, trying to help people, and then, one-on-ones, and really trying to give them that advice and that guidance to help them get started. The pandemic hit, and now there's no more one-on-one, there's no more in-person stuff. So we really had to pivot, and we've been doing everything virtually, really since last May, right? Craig, bring you in on that, and in terms of we just flipped the switch and said we're going to start doing it all virtually now.
Well, I think we'd had a little bit of an idea that virtual was coming. We'd actually set up a virtual office where we could do some meetings with people one-on-one. We really hadn't looked at doing webinars in large groups at that point. But I think, like everybody, you've got to adapt to the current situation. What I found, what we thought was going to be a major handicap, is actually turned into quite an asset. It's a skill we had to develop that we would not have developed as quickly otherwise, and it's allowed us to reach out to larger groups in more areas. So from that part, where COVID is a horrible thing we've had to go through, having to adapt and learn some new skill sets has been kind of a blessing for us as a foundation.
That's great. What's coming up on the horizon for you guys? What's kind of the next weeks, months, year look like, if you can plan that far ahead? What's coming up for you?
Well, so for us, we usually plan about 6 months, right? So we do a weekly webinar series. They're called Thirsty for Knowledge Thursdays. We refer to it as Think with a Drink, where we're just trying to give some of that education, some of that financial literacy, and the topics vary anything from as basic as, last year's saving versus spending during the pandemic to a couple of weeks ago where we were talking about Bitcoin and, cryptocurrency craze and how that all works. So we cover the gamut with everything. For us, we have a couple of large organizations that we're actually in the throes of having conversations with, some of them at the state level, to come in and do presentations with them, for their audiences, so on. So, you know, as Craig said, the footprint has been expanding greatly because of this whole pivoting to webinar and the ability to do broader outreach. You know, that's what it's really been all about. You know, Craig, you want to chime in with that?
Sure. So I think really, you know, we were just getting ourselves off the ground with the ARIES Foundation just before COVID hit anyway. And I think what this allowed us to do is kind of, you know, we've been building our library because once again, we've been doing our webinars every week, which has been great because as anybody knows, when you get starting in the media, you know, you kind of break a few eggs as you're going along. So we've been able to, you know, kind of get comfortable in our own skin doing webinars and seminars online. I think it just helped our skill set in that respect. But I also think it's allowed us to develop our website, develop tools, user tools for people out there. We have a video library now that's available through YouTube so people can see a lot of these things we're putting out. We do regular posts like 2-3 days a week. We do a blog. We're working on the podcast, as we talked about earlier, because we do actually work with organizations who work with the blind. The podcast is, you know, another good tool for us. So I think what it's allowed us to do in the last year is really kind of build the brand, to kind of have that footprint there. And then, you know, we've been expanding much, much faster than we ever anticipated. The financial need for education is vast. And fortunately for us, you know, most of the people that we work with like our format. So, you know, we keep it easy going, you know, we keep it topical, we keep it conversational. We try to keep all the big logo out of it, you know, as far as, you know, industry terminology, so people can understand what we're talking about. And like I said, just make it relevant to the people in the audience. And we're able to adapt doing different topics to suit the audiences that we're trying to service. We do some things that are geared, you know, towards small business owners. We do a lot that's geared towards special needs because we have a preoccupation with that. And we, you know, have found that, you know, women, another underserviced demographic when it comes to financial literacy. And so that's been another exploding market for us in that respect. So yeah, I think we've gone from building the platform to now taking it live, and we're getting fantastic feedback.
Tom and Craig, thank you so much for joining us today. You know, we wish you all the best with all your future work. This is something that definitely impacts everyone. And, you know, you guys go about it in a very relatable and good way. So, again, we wish you all the best. And thanks again for being here today.
Certainly appreciate it, Brian. On behalf of Craig and myself and the rest of the ARIES team, we want to say thanks for having us. For anybody who's interested or wants to learn more, you can visit, the website is www.ariesfoundation.org. And you can check us out there, check, as Craig mentioned, the events that are coming up, you know, the different webinars and what's been recorded. So we certainly appreciate you having us here today, and thanks for all that you do.